Regardless of whether you view Bethesda's Creation Club as a soulless microtransaction cash grab, an exploitative business practice that takes advantage of hardworking modders, or a legitimate source of additional content that adds additional flavor and nuance to an already expansive game, the simple truth is that CC content is here to stay, and many players are often left wondering if the benefits and entertainment value of CC add-ons are worth the sometimes hefty price tags. That's why we at Grey Gaming decided to purchase every single piece of Creation Club content so that we could offer our honest opinion on each one and give you a better idea of whether the pros outweigh the cons. We've already produced 2 videos on this topic reviewing the weapons and armor added by the Creation Club respectively. Today we're rounding out the series by discussing every Safehouse and Workshop add-on offered by the Creation Club. So if that sounds like fun to you, go ahead and break into some yum yum deviled eggs and pop the top on a nice cold sunset sarsaparilla, because I'm Gray, you're watching Grey Gaming, and today we're rating every Safehouse and Workshop add-on in Fallout 4. So on our previous CC videos, we tried to come up with some sort of objective ranking system so that we could appear as unbiased as possible. I mean, I'm not a Creation Club content creator, so it's not like I have a vested interest in making you buy this stuff in the first place, and more often than not, I tended to come off as pretty critical of most of these add-ons in the first place. At least I personally feel like I was pretty critical of most of them. But when you're reviewing safe houses and workshop object expansion packs, it's not exactly easy to come up with an objective ranking system. So just as fair warning, I will be keeping my usual rating system of 1 through 5, 1 being absolute trash and 5 being a pure joy, but each of those 5 points won't be associated with any tangible feature like it was with the weapons and armor lists. I'll simply do my best to factor in all possible variables, such as rating safe houses based on their location in the map, their size, any valuable objects within, etc. Workshop add-ons are going to be even more subjective, mostly because every individual has their own aesthetic tastes, and while one person may absolutely adore the mid-century furniture pack, another may find it tacky, gaudy, and out of place. So I will focus more on what you actually get for add-ons and whether I personally see any real gameplay or settlement building advantages by using and purchasing these. Finally, there were a small handful of Creation Club add-ons that did not fall into the categories of weapons, armor, safe houses, or workshop add-ons, so some things like the backpack have not been discussed just yet, and won't fit into this video's theme either, but don't fret, I will be completing the series with a lessons learned type video, sort of summarizing my experiences with this experiment as a whole, so if you're one of those eagle-eyed viewers that has been following this series closely, don't worry, I will be addressing these small discrepancies in the 4th video. So please chill it with the 3-barreled shotgun already. As someone who has spent way too many a waking hour building settlements in Fallout 4, I tend to get a bit miffed that there are only 6 types of stores in Fallout 4. Sure, the Nuka World DLC added some stores that can be built at raider settlements, but that really only works if you're playing as a raider. For us goody two-shoes types, that usually doesn't remain an option very long. The Vault-Tec Workshop DLC does add some manned objects like the Vault 88 soda mixer and the Phoraptor, but these are objects that make the most sense being incorporated into one of the 6 stores I mentioned earlier, rather than just being their own storefront. Enter the Locums Joe add-on. It's not a difficult set of objects to unlock. Just go to the Locums Joe HQ and pick up your franchise starter kit, and boom, you're in business. The add-on includes some checkerboard pattern tile flooring, some roofing panels, including one with integrated lights, which I personally like. The fewer objects you have to build, the better, and a few different brick walls with various internal paint jobs to match whatever style of Locums Joe paint you want. It also includes glass doors, like you would expect to find at a chain restaurant, and even better, there's a version that automatically closes behind you so you don't have to worry about NPCs leaving it open all the time. There's a fair amount of decorative objects that come with the add-on, including chalkboards, donut cases, statues, and signage, and more. Of course, there is the donut store, so you can assign a settler to your new donut shop and purchase different donuts which offer different benefits like most other food items, way too many to get into in this video. There's also a Locums Joe uniform they can wear as well, just in case you're looking to add that little bit of authenticity. Of course, there's also a donut fryer object you can use as well in case you want to cook your own delicious delectables. From tarberry or mute fruit jellies to the classic maple bar, you have a lot of choices. All you need are a few crafting components which are added to the game that can be randomly scrounged in containers throughout the Commonwealth or found in relative abundance at existing Locums Joe ruins. Overall, this add-on doesn't seem to cut any corners, putting serious thought into pretty much every item and object that is added. The only criticism I have is that I like to use diner booths when I build restaurants in-game, and the problem I have with the Vault 88 diner booth is that the fabric is torn and stuffing is puffing out. And unfortunately, the two new Locums Joe diner booths have the same issue. I would have preferred a cleaner option available that cleans up the seat so you have the option to go with either scrounged booths from existing Locums Joe or new construction, but that is a very minor gripe. The additional crafting, world building, settlement utility, and the fact that they even coded a door that closes behind you shows this wasn't just a rushed mod like much of the other dreck that was added through the Creation Club. I'll give it a score of 5 out of 5 even if it doesn't have clean diner booths. So the Modern Furniture Pack is basically an attempt to allow you to construct clean new homes similar to the pre-war aesthetic of Sanctuary Hills that we see in the game's prologue. The pack doesn't just include furniture items, but also floors, ceilings, and roofs, so you can somewhat approximate a new construction home in the pre-war style. There's a few different variations of wood laminate flooring, tile or wood laminate ceilings, and a variety of wood, brick, plaster, or paneled walls. The interesting thing is that these can snap to each other, allowing you to build an interior paneled or plaster set of walls, including some with intact glass windows, and then do brick or wood siding on the outside, which is huge for those of us that hate scrappy cobbled together aesthetics. As the pack's name implies, it also adds a number of light fixtures, chairs, couches, coffee tables, and beds, all of which are clean and pristine, allowing you to live in luxury as if the last 210 years never happened. However, the execution wasn't quite as well thought out as the Locums Joe add-on. The Sanctuary-style doors don't snap if you've snapped two door panels side by side, so you can't actually maintain the same interior paneling throughout the entire house, and the doors that were added all have peep windows, so if you plan on putting a bathroom in your house, you're going to be stuck using a vanilla door on the inside, which really trashes the vibe. Also, the exterior panels won't join at the corners, floors, and ceilings, so if you're a real stickler for edges to be flush, it's a real eyesore. I only mention it because I get quite a few comments about the non-flush corners on a lot of my concrete heavy settlement walkthrough videos. Also, since we're essentially trying to replicate Sanctuary, it would have been nice if we could have included some Sanctuary styled roofing. The flat roof panels work for a Locums Joe, not so much for a home. Overall, the pack does add a lot to the game and isn't just a set of simple reskins, but it has a bit of room for improvement. I'll be nice and rate it as 4 out of 5. One of the biggest pains for those of you on survival runs is finding a safe place in the center of the map, at least according to the hundreds of angry comments I get on my 5-war settlement build sites video because I bashed their precious Hangman's Alley. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. Players in the vicinity of the Boston Commons have a lot to worry about. Super mutant patrols, raiders, a behemoth who ain't exactly looking for a +1 to ride with them on the swan boats. It all in all is just a rough place. So if you're wishing there was a port in the storm in the area, fear not, there's the Nuka Cola Collector's Pack. The pack adds the Nucafeola, which is the dumbest name for a soda shop I've ever heard in my life, but no matter, it's a 2-story, if slightly cramped, customizable safe house, located just off the Boston Common. You can leave it as is and just use the bed if you wish, or you can clean it up and lovingly furnish it in a style that fits your tastes. There is a small quest that, like other CC content, seems to have an affinity for sending you to the Prost Bar right inside the Commons, and the quest is, well, it's sort of pointless, especially with how long it takes cells in the Commons section of the map to load. I swear to all that is holy, I hope the next gen update fixes the load times in this area. Overall, there are a few Nuka Cola themed outfits added in the DLC, which really don't interest me much, and there are a pretty wide number of decoration and furniture objects included. The main ones I enjoy are some indoor plants with Nuka Cola pots, a Nuka Cola version of the aforementioned diner booths, which are not torn or ripped up, so they get used in my settlement builds a lot nowadays. A Nuka Cola themed steamer trunk, so you can now sort of play with an RGB theme if you combine the vanilla green steamer and the Vault 88 blue steamers. There are some couches with throw pillows, which is a nice touch, and both made and unmade beds, so you can go for either a clean and tidy or not so neat and not so very tidy aesthetic. Otherwise, the rest of the furniture is just sort of a reskin, and there are less gaudy but still nice versions available in vanilla, and the lamps are all super dim, like they do not light your settlements up in the slightest. Don't even bother wasting the build materials on them. Overall, I would rate it a 4 out of 5, with the safe house being a bit too rundown for my liking, but it is in a very good location, and some good objects being added to the workshop, but these are sort of outstripped by a much larger number of not so good ones. Shroud Manor adds a quest to find your way into a pre-war mansion and uncover a bit of a mystery. It includes weapons and armor I've already talked about in an earlier video in this series, so we won't worry so much about them in this video, and instead focus primarily on the safe house. Shroud Manor is located in Cambridge, to the southeast of the Cambridge Police Department buildings, so its usefulness as a safe house is sort of undercut by the fact that there is already a vanilla safe house like 60 seconds away, and the space between them is almost completely devoid of hostiles, so it's pretty unnecessary. The manor itself is pretty cool. It's an interesting mix of pre-war ruin and well cared for mansions, sort of like if Cabot House had been abandoned for a few years. It's an interesting aesthetic that we don't see a lot in Fallout 4 and evokes memories of Tenpenny Tower in Fallout 3. A number of furniture items are added to the game, but most of them are just reskins of already existing items, and most of those are just recolored to a dull silver. So if you aren't interested in doing a lot of Silver Shroud themed settlements, there isn't a huge amount of utility that you get out of this add-on. I'm not feeling very charitable on this one. The quest is pretty alright, and the weapons and outfits are okay, and the settlement objects aren't bad, but combine them all and nothing really screams this is a must-have add-on. 2 out of 5 points. The Charleston Condo is another one of these pre-war style safe houses that doesn't really wow me, but it's a bit better than Shroud Manor. Located just around the corner from Weatherby Savings and Loan, it does constitute a safe harbor where most of the time none others exist, but with that said, it's a fairly short run to Bunker Hill to the west or County Crossing in the east, and there are avenues you can take to either of those sites that don't involve a high chance of entering into combat. The interior of the condo is pretty much one of the warehouses from Good Neighbor, so a lot of unfinished crumbling brick. There's really not that much that is added aesthetically other than another variant of unmade bed and an admittedly cool brick fireplace, which a usable fireplace is an object that is sorely lacking in the vanilla game. At least I think that was added by this DLC. I installed everything all at once and it's a bit tricky to ID some of these add-on objects in the workshop. All in all, I think that the Charleston Condo does add more utility to your gameplay experience than Shroud Manor, but the number of new objects is actually pretty low. Once again, I'm going to give it a 2 points out of 5. Easily could be done without. Neon Flats is sort of the spy-themed cyberpunk aesthetic that those synth-hunting Blade Runner fans crave. The quest to unlock it is sort of interesting, but also sort of makes absolutely no sense, so don't think about it too hard. The safe house is located inside Good Neighbor, so it's not like you're gaining a whole lot in terms of Port in the Storm. It reminds me a lot of the penthouse floor of the Sierra Madre Casino in New Vegas in terms of color and decorative themes, but adds so much cool stuff. With the exception of a black and blue version of the white and red Institute office chair, I think that there is not a whole lot of new items added to this DLC that are reskins. There are ceiling mounted storage bins, which is really cool. There's a terminal array, which I'm definitely adding to Kiri's laboratory in my Starlight Drive-In Tower build, and just everything is lovingly designed and original. I'll dock it a point for being in a stupid location, but 4 out of 5 ain't bad, especially if you're ever able to pick it up during a giveaway month. The Noire Penthouse can be a bit of a pain to track down and really doesn't bring a lot of originality to the table. Basically, just strip off the blue neon lighting from the objects in Neon Flats and you basically have everything in the Noire Penthouse. The penthouse is located in Hub 360, so it is a much more welcome location for a safe house, as there really isn't anything safe nearby closer than Good Neighbor, and that's a pretty circuitous route to reach. As far as safe houses go, it is cozy. You can always clear it out and build something a bit closer to your own personal taste, just as with any of these safe houses, and really have a place to come home and relax as you fight your way through the downtown ruins of Boston. I really want to rank this one lower due to its similarity to Neon Flats, but since I'm not sure which one came out first, for all I know, Neon Flats just took this one and added a bit of blue light and called it a day. So I'll just rank it objectively off the fact that it's a nice safe house in a dangerous area that doesn't have a lot of safe places to hide in, so I'll give this one a 5 out of 5. So the home decor pack does something that I like and something that I really don't like. It adds a lot of decorative objects to the workshop. Tons of rugs, containers, potted plants, refrigerators with glass doors showing fresh food inside. There's lockers that snap together, unlike the ones we get from the Vault-Tec Workshop DLC. It does what it does very well, but one thing that it does that really bugs me is a very large portion of these items improve settlement happiness in the process. I'm sort of a methodical feller when it comes to my settlement design. When I'm building a settlement, I like to plan it out with happiness of the settlers being a consideration throughout the whole process. I want to make sure that the settlers who live here are going to have enough covered beds, food, water, and security with stores, soda fountains, clinics, barbershops, pets, gyms, recreational facilities. All things that would organically and realistically make someone happier if they decided to relocate from a wood shack under a crumbling overpass. But this pack pretty much games the system, so now they just need a bunch of potted fern plants and some fancy floor mats, and presto, they're the happiest person that's ever lived. It's sort of a cheat, and it rubs me the wrong way. There are plenty of other decorative objects, namely the ones that come from the Nuka Cola Collector's Pack, that offer the same basic addition and new flavor to the workshop without cheating the settlement happiness mechanic, and it's something that I tend to respect. It's not a terrible add-on, and I did get it for free during a giveaway month, so it's not like I can get all upset about buying something that I personally don't wish to use to its fullest potential, but it's nonetheless a point I wish to make. I'm still a bit cranky about it, so I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. So the Holiday Workshop Pack. It is acquired through a fairly pointless fetch quest. I'd almost rather it just automatically popped into your workshop inventory, but I guess it adds a couple extra minutes of gameplay to the mix. It does exactly what it says it's going to do. It pretty much just expands the number of Christmas decorations available in the base game. Several different wrapped gifts, some post-apocalyptic Christmas trees, and once again, a neat addition, a fireplace like the ones found in Sanctuary, but with a fire lit inside, which again is something I've been wishing for, no pun intended. I'm usually pretty averse to all topics related to the holiday season between the months of January and November, and it irritates me that the local super duper mart in my area insists on putting out Christmas decorations in flipping August. So I really don't want to talk about this one because, well, I'm writing this script in June. So yeah, I'll give it a 5 out of 5, mostly just because I fully acknowledge that I am not being objective with this one and they added a fireplace. If you're enjoying the video so far, a quick trip into VATS to sink some action points into the like button would be deeply appreciated. Viewer engagement is a metric we use to determine the sort of content that provides the most value to you, a random person on the internet who has the power to choose whether I can afford to buy my donuts from a Locums Joe or whether I have to get those nasty dried out day-old donuts from the local super duper mart. Also, if you didn't catch my last video, we finally have a sponsor on this channel, eWin Racing, a manufacturer of high-end gaming and office equipment. So if you're interested in checking out their products, you can follow the links in the description, and if you use the coupon code GRAY at checkout, you'll save 20% on your order and you'll be supporting us here at Gray Gaming in the process. Thank you so much, and now back to the content you actually came here to see. The Arcade Cabinets add-on is probably the first free piece of Creation Club content I ever picked up, and it has been featured, I think, in every single one of my settlement builds for noobs videos. First things first, the add-on doesn't just add arcade cabinets, it also adds carpeted floor panels, there's also some painted stools, colored chandeliers, and other decorative objects that are all basically just reskins, but they do add a bit of flavor to the workshop. They also have silhouette projectors, which are also pretty cool. Then there are, of course, the arcade cabinets, so if you're wanting to play all the Falloutized versions of your favorite classic 1980s arcade games but don't want to have to go find all the magazines in-game that have the holotapes for your Pip-Boy, then you can just slam in a cabinet and go. The cabinets snap together and automatically transfer power to one another, so you just have to run electricity to one for the entire row to function, which is a nice feature. Now, much like the home decor pack, the arcade cabinets themselves do improve settler happiness, but I typically employ a bank of arcade cabinets in conjunction with a row of Vault 88 slot machines, which also improve settlement happiness, so it's sort of just adding variety, something I was already going to be doing anyway as a deliberate attempt to improve settlement happiness. I know it's a bit of a double standard, but since the vanilla equivalent to these items does increase happiness as well, I feel justified in using this add-on as heavily as I do. It is a small add-on that doesn't contain a huge number of new items, but it's also fairly cheap compared to many of the others on this list, and I've seen it on sale for free several times since I've started actively monitoring the Creation Club, so all things considered, I feel safe giving this one a 5 out of 5. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect with this one. I've been desperately jonesing for fresh settlement build sites, almost to the point that I've even been considering playing Fallout 76 just to use the camp system. Yuck. So I was hopeful for the virtual workshops, but also kind of skeptical because, well, it's Creation Club. I've run into a lot of junk add-ons throughout this video series. As a whole, it's not terrible. It does come with 4 different options to build in: a plain grid world, which is pretty cool, a desert island, which is also really cool with a massive build area like Spectacle Island but with better terrain, a glowing sea type area called Atomic Crater, and it piggybacks on the Capital Wasteland Mercs Creation Club add-on by letting you clean up and build GNR Plaza from Fallout 3. The add-on includes a fair number of new items as well, including Capital Wasteland themed objects and Tiki Bar / beach themed objects, but there's some shortcomings that sort of makes these one-off items sort of pointless. The bamboo walls of the Tiki Bar don't come with a thatch roof, so yeah, probably the closest thing you'll find to finish the motif is these Jangles the Moon Monkey blanket sunshades. The Tiki Bar itself isn't a manned object, which is a pretty big letdown for me because I have a pseudo Tiki Bar at one of my settlement builds for noob sites and I was looking forward to redesigning it to be even more authentic. Whoops. There's also a giant water tower in the Capital Wasteland items which doesn't really fit with the GNR Plaza, but it is welcome nonetheless because I've been thinking a water tower object would be neat, and the closest I've been able to come to building one is a concrete cistern. I would love to start using the virtual workshops as a test bed for my Commonwealth Contractor series since the build limits and resources are near limitless, but the sheer amount of lag is pretty intolerable for me. It takes quite a long time to navigate through the workshop menus, and I feel that even with my usual 200 to 400% speed that I use for the edited videos, the navigation from object to object would have to be edited out, which is a lot of extra work for a series I typically love because it usually requires minimum editing and maximum creativity. Also, just by way of full disclosure, one of my characters has a borked workshop menu and there isn't a category for Creation Club stuff, so I couldn't actually locate the VR pod. I had to switch to my main character to do this section. I'm not sure which of these add-ons is to blame, but I'm pretty sure it's virtual workshops that broke it. Also, since starting this video, my Steam Cloud Sync is broken as well, which could be very bad if I were to lose my save files. I'll give it a 3 out of 5, lots of potential, but it's got some serious issues that are starting to worry me. I'll be pretty brief on this one. It's basically a way to force settlement attack events. I personally tend to prefer when my settlements aren't under attack, but I suppose it does contain some entertainment value when the attacks are occurring on your schedule instead of, well, at random and usually at very inopportune times at that. The number of objects added are pretty few, but also fairly unique. There's the expanded metal security grating that you typically see in factories and industrial areas, and though it's designed to snap to flooring rather than as fencing, I feel it could be adapted for uses like Brahmin pens and the like. There are also junk fences, but unlike the ones in the vanilla workshop, these snap together either at 45-degree angles or continuous lines, but the fences either have 90-degree on both ends or 45-degree angles on both ends. So it actually gives you very limited options for attempting to surround a settlement with fences. A bit of a bummer, really. It also has a new variation of the wood guard post and 2 bait objects, one for luring critters and one for luring bad guys. It's not my style and the price is awful high for what you get. I've never seen it on sale for more than 25% off, so I personally wouldn't waste the time and money on it, but what it does add isn't too shabby. I'll be nice to it and give it 4 out of 5. And that, my dear Wasteland Architect, is every workshop add-on in the Fallout 4 Creation Club. I was a little less scientific and detached than I was for the other videos in this series, but the workshop is what keeps bringing me back to Fallout 4 after all these years, and it's really what built this channel in the first place. I would love to hear what you think about all these items in the comments below. Do you agree with my ratings, or am I a damn dirty drunkard that needs to lay off the Bobrovs? Until next time, it's been real, stay safe, and I hope to see you here next time on Gray Gaming.